Happy Monday, everybody. All right, today I want to talk about something lighthearted and something that brings everybody together, and that's politics. Okay, so I'm kidding. Actually, I do want to talk about politics, but not because it brings people together. However, I don't expect this to be a divisive video, at least not the way I'm presenting it. And the way I think about it is I think about Pericles, the ancient orator. He said, you may not concern yourself with politics, but politics concerns itself with you. Meaning, you may want to not think about politics. And if you're one of those people, more power to you, because you're probably saving yourself a lot of stress and a lot of grief. However, no matter who you are, politics has an impact on you. And so that's where I find ourselves today. And I think it's appropriate to always consider politics when you're considering your money and finances. Why is that? Well, pull out your currency, pull out the money in your wallet. Who's printed on it? Dead politicians. Every politician has a dream of one day being on the front of the US quarter. Who sets monetary policy? Well, Congress controls the budget. Those are politicians. The Fed chair the Fed sets the interest rates. The Fed chair is appointed by the President of the United States, and then you've got the Secretary of the Treasury, who is also appointed by the President of the United States, the top politician. So all of these things are all of these people are politicians. They're political actions that have an impact on our finances. Okay, what I want to look at is last week's election, specifically the mayoral race in New York City. Zoran Mandani won mayor of New York City, the financial capital of the United States, financial capital of the world, and now the mayor is an anti-capitalist. And as a capitalist myself, there weren't really any policies that I read about that he was espousing that I agree with. In fact, I oppose almost everything that he was very public about. However, I do want to examine what happened and why did this happen? Because I think it's interesting and I think it's worth looking at. Because I think the reason he won is because there's a great divide now in this country between those who have and those who don't have, the haves and the have nots. In fact, I think that's what Trump was running on as well. Now, he was approaching that problem from a very different perspective. His goal was to bring jobs back to the United States, to help raise up the middle class and grow the middle class. But he identified the problem is that we have a shrinking middle class, creating a broader gap between the haves and have-nots. Well, Mandani is saying the same thing. He's saying that we've got rents that are going up and up and up, and they're unaffordable here in New York City. Meanwhile, we have such massive wealth here in New York City that it's not fair. So he has policies that he's wanting to bring forward that he says will better even the playing field. Now we'll see if that happens or not, and I don't want to go into that right now, but I do want to address that gap that multiple politicians and political parties are identifying that gap, and it's a real gap. If you're fortunate enough to have assets, they've been growing over the last 15 years since the Great Recession. But if you didn't own assets, if you didn't own a house, if you didn't have investable assets, and you were just earning an hourly wage, you haven't seen much growth over the last 15 years. In fact, you've fallen behind in terms of wealth compared to those who owned assets. Because if you were just making an hourly wage, if you just look at rents, wages have not kept up with rents over the last 15 years. And so this is a real issue. Now, I am of the opinion that we do need to create jobs and people can and raise themselves up. But this is interesting. Um, I saw a news article recently where Costco is now creating a gap between the haves and the have-nots. They're opening their store hours for executive members like an hour to 2 hours early so that they can shop without all of the commoners going in and clogging up the aisles. This is very different from the Costco model that we've all been used to since its history. And this just started last month. So Costco is recognizing that the higher income folks spend more money at Costco, and so they're going to favor them a little more. Oh, here's another one. You probably read this also. Elon Musk, the board just voted to approve this pay package for Elon Musk, which says that if he hits certain standards over the next 10 years for Tesla, that he will be awarded a lot of additional stock. The equivalent of that will potentially be $1 trillion. So you have the world's richest man who now can potentially become the world's first trillionaire. Meanwhile, the middle class is shrinking and the lower class is growing. But then the high income wealth producers, those guys are getting even further far out. You can understand why there's tension in the streets. Now, here's another one. Peter Thiel, he is an investor now. He was part of the PayPal mafia. He and Elon Musk helped start PayPal back in the day. And that was really his big bang, and that's what created his first real dose of wealth. But in 2020, he actually sent out some emails to his friends saying that he sees a big concern with the student loan problem. He said, you've got a ton of people graduating with degrees that aren't going to be able to earn or create jobs that will then earn enough to pay back those student loans. And that's what Mandani was saying in New York. You've got all these people with student loans in New York, and they're working at Starbucks trying to make a living. So Peter Thiel was recognizing this as well. And he said, here's the problem. If people can't participate in capitalism because they're burdened by these student loans that they were sold by universities saying that, hey, this is going to set up a path for you that will lead to success. And they went into hundreds of thousands of dollars for potentially a degree that's not going to pay much. You've got these people saddled with this debt, and this student loans can't be erased with bankruptcy. So these are folks that are saddled with these student loans potentially forever, and potentially might not be able to save up enough to buy a home and start participating in capitalism, the American dream. He said, this is a problem. We've got to restructure this. Now, he actually had a potential positive idea. He said, instead of government debt forgiveness, let's make the universities eat this debt. They sold him a art history degree that cost over $100,000. Let's make them eat this debt. Either way, he was recognizing the problem that if we don't address this burden that people are carrying currently, there's going to be a rejection of capitalism. And there you go. That's what we saw this last week in New York City, the heart of capitalism. The voters rejected it by voting for Mandani. Now, I'm not going to go further than that. I'm just recognizing where this gap is. And my hope is that the gap shrinks. We start to build the middle class, and people start building wealth in America again. Meanwhile, what do? Right? Most of us watching this aren't politicians, just hardworking folks trying to save a couple nickels together and build wealth over time. Well, keep doing that. Keep just putting one foot in front of the other. Keep investing your funds. Now, we've advised our clients hard assets. There is a stock market bubble right now. Greg and I are firm believers in hard assets right now, but yeah, keep moving forward. And with that, y'all have a great week. Take care.